Tanzania's new president, John Magufuli, is sworn in. The World Health Organization sounds the alarm about tuberculosis. And a Senegalese rap artist inspires and educates through hip-hop. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Tanzania's new president, John Magufuli, was sworn in Thursday despite continuing disputes over the October 25th election. Magufuli and Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan took the oath of office in front of a cheering crowd at Uhuru Stadium in the capital Dar es Salaam. In a short speech, the new president promised to work hard to implement the pledges he made during the campaign. The election extended the long-time rule of the Chama cha Mapinduzi party, both in the presidency and in parliament. The opposition says the election was rigged and is rejecting the results. Well, meanwhile, the semi-autonomous Zanzibar region annulled its polls because of alleged irregularities. Now, for more insight into the challenges ahead for the new Tanzanian president, I'm joined on the phone in Dar es Salaam by Mwesige Baregu, professor in political science and international relations, and also a member of the opposition coalition, UKAWA. Professor Baregu, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much.
Now we know that there has been a dispute over this election, but from the look of things, would you say Tanzania is moving forward?
Hello, can I come again?
Yes. Would you say Tanzania is moving ahead despite some disputes over this just concluded election?
Yeah, it is rather unfortunate that Tanzania finds itself in this situation in which we are, because this election has left the country divided. It has left a major conflict surrounding the election, both on the mainland and in Zanzibar. And so it is a very, very hard time for Tanzania. And it calls for lots of wisdom to be able to address some of the challenges that we face now.
Now, what is the task for President Magufuli ahead? What can he do to heal these wounds and reunite the country?
Well, it is, again, it is unfortunate that, in fact, Magufuli finds himself having to inherit a situation not of his own making, but nevertheless, he has very little choice. Now, the question I think that we will face him is whether or not he would like to make significant changes in the approach that had so far been taken by his predecessor and others, who have basically taken a confrontational approach and refused to see the point of view of the other side. And I think if he really wants to make a difference, he would have to change all that and be more in communication with the opposition and enter a dialogue that would hopefully produce some kind of consensus that everybody can live with.
Now, what is the way forward for Zanzibar right now?
For Zanzibar, so far, we have never really had a convincing explanation why the election was cancelled, and it was only partly or partially cancelled because the part of the election that concerns the union presidential vote was counted, and it was just the presidential vote in Zanzibar, as well as the House of Representatives in Zanzibar. Those were the parts of the election that were cancelled. So it is very hard to explain that a whole process is condemned as having been bad, and then some of the results are rejected while others are accepted.
Well, Professor, we'll just be watching closely the developments in Tanzania. Thank you very much for your insights. Mwesige Baregu is a professor in political science and international relations and a member of Tanzania's opposition coalition, UKAWA. Now, the youth of Tanzania was said to have played a greater role in the just concluded election, regardless of their political inclinations. To get their thoughts, I sat down with a number of them, and today I introduce you to Raymond Maro.
My name is Raymond Maro, the first EAC Youth Ambassador to Tanzania. and currently working with the East African Community Youth Ambassador Platform, Arusha, Tanzania.
Yeah. Tell us a bit more about the essence of the Youth Ambassador Program at the East African Community.
The East African Community has opened a platform for the young people now to understand and integrate on the issues that concern the East African community integration process. So the Youth Ambassador Platform is a genuine program under the Political Affairs Department that aims to sensitize young people and to the level that they can take a lead in developing the East African community.
Do you get the sense that they really appreciate the idea of having an East African integration, an East African that is completely united almost as one country?
Yes, I feel they get the sense because I have traveled across the 4 countries, or the 5 countries to say, including Tanzania. You could see the welcome of the young people they are very enthusiastic, they are very energetic, and they are very optimistic to see a future whereby they can be able to have a free movement of people, free movement of labor, free movement of service, and free movement of goods, whereby they can open the opportunities and exercise themselves in their talents that they think they can triumph in different parts of the entire community.
What do you think particularly are the issues that the youth of Tanzania want to see addressed by whatever government that comes into power?
We have the same issues that we normally speak about in day-to-day activities. First, we need the youth policy to be ratified. We need the Tanzanian Youth Council. The young people of Tanzania have been really in demand of the council. So we are looking forward to see the next government implement this. We find ourselves that we don't have a national body that brings us together, collects us together to have a collective mind or a collective sense of concern towards such touching and pressure issues. So it's high time, I think, this is what we are looking for, that if we get an organization or even a council itself, that we can have one voice that can take us to the next level or to the next step that will be awesome for the young people of Tanzania.
Well, U.S. and British officials say it is highly possible that a bomb brought down a Russian passenger jet over Egypt's Sinai Peninsula last week, killing all 224 people on board. But Egyptian and Russian officials deny there is yet any evidence to reach such a conclusion. Africa 54's Esther Githui-Ewart reports.
British Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond said Thursday arrangements are being made to return people home safely from the Egyptian resort.
There is no threat to them in their hotels going about their normal business in Sharm el-Sheikh, and they can be assured that we will not allow any UK-bound aircraft to take off from Sharm el-Sheikh until we are absolutely certain that it is safe for it to do so.
Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the disaster, but has so far not presented any firm evidence to back it up. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi dismissed the Islamic State's claim as propaganda and an effort to damage Egyptian security and stability. He is in London Thursday to meet with British Prime Minister David Cameron. Although no U.S. air carriers regularly operate out of the Sinai Peninsula, a White House spokesman said warnings have been in place for several months about potential hazards of flying over the Sinai.
There have been rules, advisory rules shared by the FAA to civil aviation operators about the potential risks associated with operating in airspace over the Sinai Peninsula.
The Metrojet Airbus took off from the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh for St. Petersburg, Russia, Saturday, and shortly thereafter disappeared from radar. Russian officials say they are expanding their search area around the site of the crash. Esther Githui-Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Europe has begun relocating the first refugees from Greece to other EU states, and it's planned to tackle the migrant crisis. The EU wants hundreds of thousands of refugees to be resettled, but there's a strong opposition from some members. Henry Ridgewell reports from London.
After their flight from war, a ticket to a new life in Europe, 30 Syrian and Iraqi refugees were flown Wednesday from Athens to Luxembourg. Among those bidding them farewell was the President of the EU Parliament, Martin Schulz.
When I saw the happiness and the lucky faces of the children, I thought this is exactly what we have to do.
Schulz called on all EU states to take part in the relocation plan, which envisages 160,000 refugees being shared across the EU. But there has been opposition from several eastern member states.
It's not really for Martin Schulz to say what is fine and what is not fine, because it's really for national governments. And we saw that although there was a majority to agree to the relocation scheme, a number of governments protested and a number of governments voted very unwillingly.
Very happy. The final leg of the journey to Luxembourg was made by bus. Many refugees said they knew little about their future home.
Aleppo, Syria. I'm from Aleppo, Syria.
And where are you going now?
Now Luxembourg.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
On the Greek islands, thousands more migrants continue to arrive every day. A strike by ferry workers left many stranded at the dockside in Lesbos Wednesday.
With the 30 refugees taken from Greece to Luxembourg, this now takes us to a total of 116. So still many, many thousands off the target, and that's not even to mention addressing the broader crisis.
Greece is at the front line of that crisis. Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras had this warning.
Να μην ενθαρρύνουμε χερσαίες ή θαλάσσιες ανεξέλεγκτες με τον κίνδυνο.
We shouldn't encourage the out-of-control land or sea travel from Turkey to the rest of Europe that puts human lives at risk.
For the vast majority of migrants, the journey to a new life in Europe is increasingly dangerous. Temperatures in the transit Balkan countries are falling fast. Aid agencies warn that thousands of lives will soon be at risk. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa54. Check out our headlines 24/7 at voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Well, coming up, combating an infectious disease that kills more people than HIV/AIDS. Stay with us.
From Science and Technology, here's What's New.
What's new? A navigation device for your bicycle that attaches to the handlebars. It's called Smart Halo, and it's made by a company called Cycle Labs. It's a circular screen edged by a ring of LED lights. It connects to an app on your smartphone via Bluetooth. A right turn is indicated by a right side green semicircle. For a slight left turn, a green quarter circle appears at the top left, and U-turns light up a red semicircle on the bottom of the display. Here's Cycle Labs' Gabriel Alberola.
So we've made sure our device was simple yet smart. How? By reducing its interface to its simplest possible form, a circle. This luminous halo allows us to communicate an impressive amount of information.
Smart Halo is also a bike locator, a theft prevention device, and a fitness tracker. Its bright headlight turns on and off automatically on a battery charge that normally lasts 3 weeks. For VOA's What's New, I'm Todd Grosson.
Well, it's time now for a health report, and joining us is Africa 54 health correspondent Linord Moudou with a look at tuberculosis.
Well, the World Health Organization says tuberculosis is now the world's leading infectious killer, topping HIV/AIDS. VOA's Carol Pearson reports that the WHO says we need more aggressive efforts to curb the epidemic.
Tuberculosis is an infectious disease that mainly affects the poor, and those who have it are often stigmatized. The World Health Organization considers TB an epidemic. WHO is looking for an infusion of close to $3 billion for research into new drugs, new diagnostic tools, and better surveillance, so those with the disease can be treated. Since 1990, the death rate from TB has fallen by nearly 50%, but the WHO says more progress must be made.
You cannot accept 4,400 people dying every day of a curable disease.
Tuberculosis is 90% curable, unless it's a strain that is multi-drug resistant. Only about half of the people who suffer from that strain survive. Some doctors compare it to the deadly Ebola virus, only more easily transmitted.
Multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, MDR-TB, is like Ebola with wings because it has the same risks of transmission to other people. It can be transmitted even just by coughing in the air, in the train, in the church, in a bar, in a hospital. So it's a serious threat.
Starting in January of 2016, the WHO will launch an effort to end TB. Those involved in this effort believe it can happen.
That 47% drop in deaths from TB is from hard work. It didn't just kind of happen. And what it has told us is that indeed hard work does reflect itself in a drop in new infections, and we need to do more in more places and sustain that effort everywhere.
Gooseby says the world is beginning to understand the severity of the TB threat. As it does, the WHO hopes support for efforts to end the disease will increase. Carol Pearson, VOA News, Washington.
Joining us now live via Skype from Boston, Massachusetts is Dr. Joya Mukherjee, Chief Medical Officer with Partners in Health, a U.S.-based organization that aims to bring the benefits of modern medical science to those most in need of them. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Joya. Now,
thanks for having me.
Looking at the report, clearly there's reason for concerns there, right?
Absolutely. I'm glad that they've highlighted that there was some success in dropping the rates of tuberculosis, but the death rate of tuberculosis is too high. The amount of tuberculosis, the ongoing spread of tuberculosis is too high, and it remains the #1 killer of adults in sub-Saharan Africa and in many other places of the world, particularly in Asia. And so we've done not enough to control the spread of tuberculosis and to treat the sick who have tuberculosis.
But when we look at the impact that HIV/AIDS has on tuberculosis, it's clearly a reason why there is so much more death.
Yes and no. I would say the fact is, for many years, HIV was a larger killer of adults than tuberculosis. But global activism that created huge new streams of funding, most notably the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, TB, and Malaria, and later bilateral programs such as the U.S. PEPFAR program, were really targeted toward HIV, not toward TB. TB was kind of a secondary issue. And it's the activists, most of them people living with HIV, who stood up and said, enough is enough. We need to massively scale up treatment to HIV. That activism never was there for TB. And TB sufferers, those who live with TB, have never had a set of new diagnostics until very recently, and still it's not good enough. The treatment of complex forms of tuberculosis, whether it's drug resistant or tuberculosis in the brain and in the spinal fluid, these are really relegated as kind of secondary problems. When we look at treating TB, it should be all TB all the time, everywhere. And that needs to be driven by real activism and the idea that we're going to end TB, that we can achieve 0 deaths from TB. In most developed countries, nobody dies of TB. There's very few cases being transmitted. So we can achieve those goals. It's not that it's impossible. We have a cure. We just need to be much, much more aggressive with approaches to finding cases, treating cases, and keeping people with TB in treatment and care. And the report did mention that poverty underlines tuberculosis, and that is absolutely true. And programs to treat tuberculosis need to be linked with things like food and housing, because if you treat someone with tuberculosis and they have no food, it's very hard to treat the tuberculosis. It's very hard to keep them on therapy if they're hungry and starving.
And quickly, in 10 seconds, tell us about the priorities for your organization.
Our priority is to have 0 deaths from tuberculosis. And by 0, we mean aggressive case finding, and that every person, no matter what type of TB, resistant, sensitive, lung TB or others, gets full treatment, gets the support of community health workers, gets whatever social support they need, and that we really aim to have 0 deaths from tuberculosis. We are involved in a multi-country grant to end TB that's looking at bringing new drugs online. We have new diagnostic tools in every country, Partners in Health Works, and so we really aim to strengthen TB treatment, control, and all of the social factors to have 0 deaths from tuberculosis.
Dr. Mukherjee, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And that was Dr. Joya Mukherjee. She's Chief Medical Officer with Partners in Health. That's our Africa Health Report for today. Vincent?
Well, Linord, thanks. And be sure to watch Linord Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, using hip-hop to educate in Dakar. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines.
British officials say there is a significant possibility that the Islamic State's Egyptian affiliate caused the attack on a Russian airliner that killed 224 people. We stay in Egypt, where a court postpones the final trial of President Hosni Mubarak, who's charged with killing protesters during the 2011 uprising. In Guinea, hundreds form protests demanding more rights for rape victims in response to a video released on social media showing an alleged rape. In Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari warns incoming cabinet members to be cautious of their actions, as no immunity will be granted during terms.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. An Australian charity is shattering the stigma of homelessness by sharing the personal stories of people sleeping rough. Homeless of the Melbourne began as a Facebook page and has grown to a clothing store called Homie that supports the needy. Every item bought by a member of the public translates into free items for the homeless, who can come in to stock up on essentials. Homie is not like a typical thrift store. The items there are new, not used, and some big retailers are backing the idea. Well, next up, Burberry launches a festive campaign with an all-star British cast. The Burberry festive film, a 3-minute film which sits at the heart of the brand's 2015 festive campaign, pays tribute to the iconic British film Billy Elliot, which celebrates its 15th anniversary this year. The promo is based on the much-loved opening sequence and features original footage, as well as the original soundtrack Cosmic Dancer by T-Rex. Among the big names bouncing for Burberry, Naomi Campbell and Sir Elton John. The campaign had a major rollout on all major social media platforms. Well, and finally, Dubai is bidding to become one of the great global design centers. To that end, the city's design community has attracted the world's best and brightest to its inaugural Dubai Design Week, which showcases a mixture of contemporary design from both the Middle East and further afield. But it is, be it playful spaces, glass sculptures, or gliding glass chandeliers, designs of every kind are filling halls across the UAE capital. The 6-day event celebrates a mix of creative platforms, including public installations, architecture, products, and graphic design. And that is what is trending today. Now, continuing our profile series of young African leadership fellows, today we introduce you to a rap artist from Senegal who, through the use of hip-hop, inspires and educates people in his community back home in Dakar. His recent internship landed him in San Francisco, California, to learn from a rap artist and hip-hop leader there. And as you'll see, the two men have a lot in common. They learn from each other and have a lot to offer to their respective communities. Take a look.
My name is Papa Ali Gay. I'm from Dakar, Senegal.
I'm a founding member of a rap group we call Pat Ghetto. I'm General Secretary and Art Director of Githui Hip Hop. In each hip hop discipline, like DJing, graffiti, breakdance, MCing, and some urban culture. Hip hop in Senegal is just like, awareness. It's just like, impacting the community. It's just like empowering, people. When we go to each neighborhood every single week, as an art director and street conferencer, we come with our electronic devices. I'm in the middle, I grab the microphone for more than 3 hours to empower people passing. And sometimes we go to schools. Kids, they come to join us because they love, hip hop and they recognize themselves in this culture. And when we have cleaning action, everybody go, with us. Separate, collect all the ties, and the plastic trash, separate it. And with the plastic trash, mostly we build some bench and give it back to the community. This is, what we're doing. And sometimes we go to some schools, we painting, do some murals, some graffitis to decorate because people, they love it. All Mandela Washington Fellows, shout out to my Horse Institute, Wagner College, Staten Island, New York. Shout out to Mr. Kafri J, Hip Hop for Change.
What's up, y'all? My name is Kafri J. I'm the Executive Director of Hip Hop for Change, San Francisco, Oakland. And I'm a local artist trying to lift up a platform for my people. I have him coming on a radio show in our program to do that. He's working with our grassroots department, which is the biggest thing I wanted to teach him because that's the most interesting thing that Hip Hop for Change does is grassroots education and fundraising. Basically standing on a street corner in a high traffic area and waving people down and having a 3 to 5 minute quick conversation about a community and culture they might not know anything about.
And what we're advocating for is just what we're calling the real hip hop.
About an issue that they might not have ever heard about. And we talked to them about what we need, and that's how in 2.5 years we've had over 100,000 conversations with people in affluent neighborhoods about the hood and about the stealing of hip hop's culture and about what we're fighting to do. And through that, we've made enough donations on the street to be able to survive. And that's something that I think Paco was pretty amazed that we do.
Oh, amazing. I learned a lot right here. It's an overwhelming experience. You cannot imagine it.
My main thing was to make sure that this experience was worth his time, worth the amazingness that he's bringing to the table. So what I've done is I've set him right next to me, and I've tried to teach him every aspect of every program that Hip Hop for Change does.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot in terms of civic leadership, in terms of grants writing, in terms of fundraising. Yeah, PA to the CO. Yeah, now I'm right here. Real hip hop, G hip hop, Hip Hop for Change, for life. Mandela Washington Fellowship. Thanks to President Barack Obama. Yeah, that's it.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. And for more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings today, Break Africa, between 0300 and 0600 UTC. That is Monday to Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.